Welcome to the second season of the Deployment Dojo. This is episode 1 of a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics to make you a better setup ninja. I'm your host, Rob Menching, and joining me today is my very good friend and first student of the dojo, David Edson. David, how you doing, my man?
Pretty good, thanks.
Can you believe it's been almost to the day 18 months since the last Deployment Dojo show?
Wow, actually, I didn't know it was that long ago. Yeah.
It was 17 months and 29 days. I had the browser calculate for me because you know I'm not going to get the math right. Back then, we were talking about Wix 4. And since then, we have released both Wix 5 and Wix 6. So that whole yearly cadence thing has really been keeping up. And with 18 months, I guess you get 2 releases in that time frame.
Right.
All right. So since this is the first show of the second season, I want to set a couple ground rules because a few things have changed since it's been a while. First, the first season of Dojo was so successful that I knew I needed to bring it back. You guys showed up. I got lots of positive comments. People really enjoyed the show, which told me I needed to bring it back. But every week was a lot of work, just trying to get all this together. So shows are now monthly. The first Wednesday of each month. You're here today. All of you that were alive knew that. It's great to have you here. Hopefully we have a whole bunch of regular. Yeah, Martin, see? David, I told you Martin was going to be there. First one to say hi. All right. So like I said, you guys have been great. Shows have also moved to Fire Giant. So I've decided to make this part of my job because honestly, it was going so well. And we... So many people had such a good time that I was like, we have to make this thing. So I made it part of my job. It's now part of Fire Giant, and you're going to find it on our channel. Second, this is a live show. I'm going to repeat that here on this first show because mistakes are made. And then you get to watch me try to recover from those in real time. We never know where they're going to go. Also, this is a live show, which means I have a topic, an idea for the day, but worry if this is not a tutorial or a deep masterclass on how to do organized topics. This is a fun show that you can watch each week with us, more like a podcast than a structured class. I know a lot of people are out there saying, I would really love it if this was a class. I'm thinking about that. But the Deployment Dojo is a live show that we're just doing for fun. I just show up honestly and say, hey, Dave, this is what we're going to talk about.
Yep.
All right, Dave, you ready to find out what we're going to talk about in this season?
Yes.
Yes, you're thinking, Wix 6? No, we're not doing Wix 6. There's lots of things to talk about in Wix 6, but I've been watching people interact with Wix since Wix 4, Wix 5, and Wix 6, some of the big changes we made in those releases, particularly around the SDK style projects and how you can now acquire the Wix toolset. If you remember, we broke down our Wix project a little bit, and we could do like MSBuild restore, and all our tools would come down and do a build.
Right.
Yeah, like fuzzy from way back when. Well, what I've realized is that there are a lot of misconceptions about the way that MSBuild and Visual Studio interact and work together, and there's like just a real fundamental lack of fundamentals in MSBuild. And one of the things that I know from my experience back in Office in 25 or more years, 25 years, yeah, so something like that, 26 years ago, was that the setup team was often tied very close to the build team because there's a whole lot of work to tie the creation of the output into the rest of the build pipeline. So I want to take this season and start breaking down fundamentals of MSBuild into more advanced topics, and then we're going to bring it all back into the Wix toolset because the setup team is often so close to the build process, or needs to be so close to the build process. I think a lot of you will find a tremendous amount of value in having deep understanding of how MSBuild works. All right, David?
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, so I have good news. It turns out MSBuild is all XML. So all of you that were worried that we weren't going to be doing XML, no fear. It's all still XML. And those of you like, oh, no more XML, sorry, it is all build XML. All right, David. Kata 1, 0. Kata 0. Kata 0?
0. Yeah.
All right, here we are. We are going to be working in VS Code quite a bit to get started. And just from the command line, this is how we started a long time ago with the Wix toolset. And I'm going to be honest with you. After doing season 4, I really wanted to explain how you could use Wix from the command line. But then I think a lot of people took that to find that that was the best way to use Wix. Thus, the whole topic of MSBuild that we're going to talk about. All right. today's basics, for those of you that aren't familiar with Wix toolset, or maybe you think you're familiar with Wix, or sorry, not Wix, wow, MSBuild. Those of you that are not familiar with MSBuild, I need to lay some foundation, way pieces hooked together just at the very fundamentals. Those of you that are very familiar with MSBuild will probably find a lot of this routine, and then maybe I'll show you something very fundamental that you skipped over. I find a lot more people know less about MSBuild than not. So, David, you ready for us to jump in?
All right, I'm ready.
All right, very, 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 very basic. At the most basic, you will see that MSBuild projects usually end in the letters PROJ, short for project. We have CSproj for C# projects. We have WixProj for Wix projects, VCXproj for C++ projects, VC plus, I don't know why they call it VCX. It is a long time ago. All of those are projects. So if you name your project file ending in a PROJ, a lot of natural behavior will work. Very similar, like if you name your source file as WXS, then Wix knows that that's a Wix source file. So if you're dealing with project files, name them in .proj. Okay, so we're going to do exactly that. I'm going to touch dojo.proj just to create a file here. Empty file, okay? No, nothing up the sleeves. We're starting from scratch. Everything. MSBuild has been around since like 2002, like a long time. Not quite as long as Wix, but it's been around for a long time. And it was built back in the days when everybody was still learning XML, kind of like Wix was. So we're going to see some decisions that I disagree with the way they structured, and we're going to talk about those because I want you to know my opinions on how I would have done it differently. But we'll dig into that. And I'm doing modern MSBuild. If you go back farther and farther, MSBuild has some really sharp edges as you go deep into the history, kind of like Wix. And now MSBuild has a lot nicer syntax. So we're going to start with the simplest. This is a project file. That's what MSBuild starts with. And the top level is called a project. Okay?
Okay.
Everything always lives in a project file. Thank you, CodePilot. I probably should turn you off because you're not very good at this. Turn these off, I think, for now. Thank you. I don't find CodePilot very good at XML yet, so I tend to just try to get it out of the way. All right, so kind of like you have a Wix file that has a Wix element at the top, you have a project file that has a project at the end. They don't need a namespace. There isn't a lot of IntelliSense for MSBuild projects necessarily, so we can just use these raw elements. Okay, a project file goal is to build stuff, to run tasks that do build type operations. You can do anything in MSBuild. It's a general execution engine. It's also declarative. So those of you thinking, oh, Wix is XML and declarative, Rob must like MSBuild. I don't know if I like MSBuild, but given the way that it's built into everything, it's definitely nice to have, and it's better than a lot of build engines out there that I've dealt with. So at the fundamental, you have properties, and you put them in a property group. And if these sound like, see, this is VS Code getting fight me. All right, I'm not gonna be happy if it fights me the whole time. All right, just like in Wix, you have properties, which are the variables. These are the simple variables inside MSBuild properties. So I can have a property. Now, this is one of the things I disagree with that MSBuild did. You define a property, and then the element name is the name of your property, and the value is the value. So this is your property A, and then there's your value A. So unlike Wix, where we'd have a property element with an ID and a value, in MSBuild, you create a property group, and everything inside that property group defines properties. Then you put the value inside the text inside them. Not my favorite. Doesn't make IntelliSense or all those sorts of things very easy because, well, it's just anything can live inside a property group. Okay?
All
right, so these are the most simple basic variables at the top of everything. The next thing we have in here is another type of variable called an item. Ooh, I'm gonna be fighting this thing a lot. Items are like things that generally exist on the system, but they're more complex files. So I want to introduce them as a file. So I'm going to touch a.text so that we have a.text next to us here. This is a.text. All right. And now we can have an item group called like text files. And you can say include a.text. Now, it doesn't have to refer to a file on disk, but this is the most common case that we're going to see in the beginning. Okay, so what we have here is a item that generally refers to something out on the system. So we have properties as variables throughout, and then we have items that we can build more complex structures on top of. You can think of items a little bit more like objects. Make sense so far? Typically, they're used for files, so or used to reference things outside. When we get more advanced, we'll see different ways of doing this. All right. So a property and an item. The next thing inside an MSBuild project at the basics is a target. A target is the thing that does work, and you give a target a name. We'll call it test for now. Now I have a target that I can run inside this project. So I have a variable at the top, I have an item that's like an object in here, and then I have a target that I could do something with this MSBuild project. All right.
Okay.
Last concept, and then we'll actually try to run this thing, is inside targets, you have what are called tasks. These do work. All right. A target is made up of a collection of properties, items, and tasks. So there's a built-in task called message. We're going to use this a lot as we explore and printf our way through debugging this. All right. And so you could say message text equals, this is test target message. Yeah, just this is test target. Boom. Cool.
Cool.
So we have at the top, we have a property that we're not using called A. We have a group of text file that includes this a.text, and then we have this target name test, and we are going to spit out this message. So we're not using any of these things up here, but we're going to run this message and hopefully see it print out. Cool?
Cool.
Here we go. MSBuild, and I'm just going to run MSBuild. I have MSBuild on my command line. If you run your Visual Studio development environment, it comes inside that by default. So if I just run MSBuild, it will find the project file, aka something that ends in .proj, and run it for me automatically, and it'll spit out a whole bunch of information like this. All right, and we're going to break down the whole line. At the top is you get MSBuild, what version you're running and when it started, so we can get timings out of it, which is kind of nice to be built in. It tells you what project you're running. We'll talk about nodes because MSBuild can do multi-proc builds, which can speed things up a lot. Then it shows you the target that it's going to run. It's going to show you the output of that target, which in this case was just a message. And then it tells you, hey, I'm done building this project. And then it tells you that the build succeeded with this many errors and this many warnings. And it took not very long.
Okay.
No big surprise, right? Okay, so let's change this to a warning instead of just a message. And then I'll clear it and run it again. Now, it runs fast. You can see MSBuild say, hey, here I am. Here's my project that I'm running. And oh, look, at this project file, at this line, a warning was spat out. This is a test target. So by changing to a warning, I can now I can change from a message to a warning. I get a different output. And this is very common syntax here to say, hey, this is the file, the line number, and the character that started the issue. Then we're done building. And then at the end, you get a summary of all the work it did here. This project, this test target had a warning in it. It counts the warnings and it tells you how long it ran it.
Okay.
All right. So last thing, this is going to be very helpful. You can use error. It's going to do the same thing. I want you to show the output there. Now, test build framework project. Now it says same line number, error. This is a test target because that's the message I put. Done. And notice it says failed now. So MSBuild in this case has now failed the build. And you get all this red text, which is saying, hey, this is what went wrong. And now it counts your errors, and it still took us no time. In this case, MSBuild has returned an error code so you can detect and say, oh, this build failed. Okay?
Okay.
All useful fundamentals to be able to tell what's going on inside a build and a target. And error, warning, and message are great ways as you're experimenting with your own targets and playing with them to get data out of it. Like if you want the build to stop at a certain point, drop an error in it, and then it will stop there, and you can like look at all the information that's going by on the or see what's gone by on the screen. All right.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So very, 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 very basic. Let's go back and do something with our text. Let's not make it an error. We're going to go back to message. Also, I know there's this thing called importance. There's an attribute, this attribute that I could say, let's make the importance of this message high. The default is normal. If you remember, our message was grayed out. I think that might be hard to see on screen. So I'm going to switch it to importance high to make it a little bit easier to see. It'll be a brighter white when we run this message. All right.
Okay.
So we're still running this test target. Let's use our properties. Let's use our variables that we have up here. The most basic work here. All right. So we have property A inside this property group defined. I want to see the value of property A. So this is test target. And then let's get the value of property A. Guess what? It's the same syntax that Wix uses for preprocessor variables. Property A. This says, hey, this syntax here, this $parent, close parent says, go get the value of property A and put it in this string right here. Cool?
Cool.
Make this a little wider this way. There we go. Now let's run again. So we should see our text, our message text should be nice and bright and white. And we should see our value. Spit it out. There we go. Look, all right, see, nice and bright and white. And there's our message for value. Cool? Cool, all right. So we have a value. Now you're like, oh, okay, which one is that? I wanna know which value it is. Though this is something that I do a lot. Property A. So all I'm doing is saying, hey, here's the value, property A, go. Clear screen, boom, property A, value. So I formatted it so I can understand the value that's going on here. All right, So there we go. Very simple, great. So now, how do you think we reference the values of text file? So I want to spit out another message right here for all my text files.
Yep.
How do you think I should do that? I'm looking for a guess, David.
Oh, to get it from the file?
Yeah, to get the value of our text file.
I don't know. Start with a.text.
Well, a.text is going to be the value that we want out of text file. So you can say, hey, let's dereference text file the same way we did before. All right.
Okay.
You can try that. Boom. Text file, blank. Does not work. This is something that will throw people for a long time. These are properties. These are items. You reference items differently. And a lot like Windows installer that has lots of little prefix symbols and everything, MSBuild has a few prefix symbols. The way you get items is you put an @ sign. Okay? So if you want a properties value, you use $, and if you want a items value, you use @ sign. This is a very fundamental piece that honestly took me way too long to figure out when I was trying to print these things out. I would look at something and be like, why is it blank? Why is it blank? Turns out I was using a $sign instead of an @ sign almost always. Ta-da! There we go. So now we have property A, value, text file A. Okay?
All right.
Cool?
Yes.
All right. So the thing about items, as I said, they're objects. They will group together. So now I have two text files. I have a.text and b.text. What's this going to print out?
I'm kind of curious. Yes.
You want to take a guess?
Just concatenate both of them. I don't know. Smash them both together.
Smash them both together? It's actually a very good guess. It smashes them together with a semicolon.
Okay.
All right. So text file a.text, b.text. Oh, notice I didn't have to have b.text. B.text does not exist. These items do not necessarily represent files on disk, but a lot of time they do. All right?
Okay.
So I can also do this. Let's touch b.text, and then we'll open it and say, this is b.text, because we always do that with our example files in case we ever see them somewhere. We know what we got. Okay, so now here we go. I'm going to run this again. Clear screen, MSBuild, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add no logo for a bit, just to simplify the set. It only took the logo at the top. I thought it would reduce a little bit more. It doesn't reduce much. It removed the MSBuild part at the top. All right, so hey, a.text, b.text. Cool. All right, now let's do this. Let's say you have a bunch of files that you want to refer to disk. This is how items are often used. You can instead list them all you can just say, hey, give me star.text.
Okay.
And it gives us the same value. Text files a.text, b.text, because it looked right here. All right. So let me change my extension to foo. Do we have any files that end with foo?
Nope.
Nope. So when we run this again, text file is blank. Okay. Now I can also do this again. Now I have text file grab all files that are text, all files that are foo. Clear screen, build, boom. I got all files that are text, and there are no files that were foo.
All right.
Touch c.foo. This is c.foo. I'm belaboring this because this becomes very important as we go along. Clear screen. So what do you expect it to print now for text file?
That with the foo at the end.
Yep. A.text, B.text, and C.foo at the end because it found C.foo. Okay?
Yep.
And in case you're wondering, does not exist .text. If I could spell exist. This file does not exist on disk, but we can still add it to the item group by explicitly saying it should be there, that it's there.
Okay.
Cool?
Yes.
Very, very, very fundamentals that we're working on here. So, properties, text files, messages to spit out what we want. I'm going to do one more piece. I'm going to call this text file extension. And I'm going to use txt. Okay?
Okay.
So instead of specifying txt, I'm going to use
The text
the
file
property.
extension. Yep.
Right. So there, I'm going to say, cool, go grab me all of the text files. We'll get rid of our does not file exist, but we'll keep our foo. Clear screen, build, same output. Change our text to text, does not exist. These no files end with .text. Build again, boom. So you can use properties inside of the value, or you can use you can use property values inside the items item spec here, this include definition.
Okay.
Is that holding together so far?
Yes.
Yes. All right. This is fundamental. These things are important. The next thing is where I'm going to leave us today. We're just doing a half hour today, keeping everybody on schedule. This could be a short episode because I want you to go back and try all of these little things yourself. I'm leaving you with this one last piece. And then, of course, I'm going to do one more thing. The order of loading a project is it loads properties first, it loads items second, and then it processes targets. Okay? So your properties are loaded first, your items are loaded second, your targets are loaded last. That means that if I change this back to it, I can do this in this order. Notice how properties are now defined after items.
Yes.
Does not matter. Properties first. Now, order of properties does matter here. You can also put properties inside properties. So we could do property B is the value of property A. It uses text file. Okay.
All right.
And when we spit out property B down here, I can put out property A. Property B, value uses txt. The value of A uses txt. If I move this property up inside this list, what do we expect to be printed out for property B?
I'm not sure. Does it give you some warning?
No, just give you value uses. Because the text file is not evaluated yet, it's blank, so it just puts it together.
Okay.
All right, so order of properties matter, but items, notice how we've had this mixed up the whole time? The items are always evaluated second, targets then are done last, okay? So now let's take this property group, we'll chop it up a little bit. We put property B all at the top and A and text file down here. We've now defined all these groups of properties. All right. What do we expect the value of property B to be?
It'll be correct, right? At this point?
Nope. It's just going to be uses because it's made up of property A is down here. Property B gets
okay, so it's
included.
still all right. So the order still matters.
So now if I pick up property B and I move it all the way down here, now what are we going to get?
Now it's okay since the property A is already
Property is now defined. So value uses text.
okay.
And I can move these text files around. Notice they've been printing a.text the whole time. Doesn't matter where I put them at the project level. All of this is at the project level. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
I'm going to take the target. I also said targets were last. I didn't try it. I didn't do anything with it yet, but target. Okay, so now the target is before property B is defined because property B is all the way down here.
Mm-hmm.
But we said properties, items, then targets. So
should be fine.
So it's fine because the properties are defined, then the items, and then the targets. So this target refers both to property B and item text file. So because it is processed third, it has access to all the properties and all the items defined at this level. This make sense?
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to put it together and Kata one more thing. Okay, this is the last little bit. Properties, items, targets. Then you can do the exact same thing inside your target. I'm going to take property B and define it inside this target. Okay, so you can create properties inside your target.
Okay.
So what do we expect the property to be? It's defined. It's up here, defined before property A and text file extensions are.
It should be okay since properties go first.
But well, no, this property is inside this target. So
I gotcha.
Right?
No.
So,
yes.
All right. So if I run this, is it going to be okay? Are we going to have all our values? Properties, items, then targets.
Well, property A is defined first down there, right? And
Is
property
defined
B is
here?
using property A.
And
So yes, it should.
yes, because
work.
property B is going to be done inside the target.
Yes.
But if we move it above the target, outside a target, and we run it,
Yeah. Now we'll not.
now it's not. All right?
Okay, I got it.
Got it. This is important because this is one of the ways that you can get a property to be defined on another property if you can't get the ordering right in your file for some reason. You can put it inside your target. Okay?
Okay.
And the same thing works for, okay, let's do this one. This is the advanced mode of all these things that we've been running around. All right, property B down here. This time I'm going to define these two guys as part of this target. Okay, so in the target, we have this property A and text file are defined inside here. Then we have property B that uses property A and text file, and we have this item that uses text file extension.
Yes.
Any guesses what we're going to get here?
It will not work there.
Yeah, you're right. Property B does not see A because it's not defined yet. It's defined inside the target.
Yep.
It doesn't get the text file extension either, so the text files are missing all of the txt extensions, so all we get is c.foo.
Yep.
Yep. Holding together. And of course, if we spit out property A and text file extension. I don't want to type that. Text file extension. Run it again. Property A is fine. Text file extension is fine. Property B does not have property A or property B, and text file only finds c.foo. This could be confusing if you do not understand that global properties are first, and then items, and then targets. And inside targets, you do the same thing. The properties and the items inside there.
Got it.
All right. So let's move our item group inside our target, but before our properties are defined. I said that very definitively, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, but we're going to test it real quick. Inside the target. I'm going to see if I got that correct. I did not. Okay, I realized as soon as I said that, I'm like, ooh, I haven't done that in a long time. Order matters inside a target.
Okay. So it doesn't do property.
No, inside
Property
a target,
items.
the order is controlled by the target. Outside of a target, the order is controlled properties, items, and then targets. All right, so what I said a minute ago is false. This will work because now we have text file extension defined here. Okay.
All right.
I'm mixing these all up to kind of work through all the different ways that we can pull it. So you can see inside here, inside this target, the order matters of these properties. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I bring all this up because when you're just doing the basics of MSBuild, not having this foundation will confuse you for a very long time trying to sort out what's going on because the order matters so much. And a lot of more advanced topics will take advantage of the fact that properties globally are defined before items, and which means you can order them however you want to. You can space your properties out however you want inside your file, then items, and then targets. And once you get inside a target, then the order is very strictly held. Actually, let's do one more test here to prove that. Okay, we're going to print out the message, hi, or the property A before property A is defined. It is not defined because the order is strictly held inside targets. Cool?
Yeah. Yes, cool.
All right, so we've done a whole lot of mishmash of putting your properties here, your items here, your targets here, all that other kind of stuff. Let's go do a quick recap and then answer any questions.
All right.
All right, so at the top, we have a project file. Everything lives inside that. That's going to run MSBuild runs. Then you can have properties that are evaluated first. You can have items that can refer to files on disk, as we saw using that star syntax and things like that, but they don't have to. You can also create items just by saying, hey, foo.text does not have to exist on disk. And then we have targets, and inside targets, we can define properties, items again, and tasks like our message, our warning, our error. We'll get to more exciting tasks in the future and those are executed in order inside the target. Any questions? Do I need to go over it again? Does everybody nodding? Or you're like, okay, I have enough information. I can go write my own proj file and run MSBuild on it several times to verify that this is my understanding sticks. This is going to be very important. If you don't have these fundamentals, our topics in the future are going to get very confusing because we're going to assume that the order is all understood.
Okay. And then use the $ for the properties and
Yes.
the @sign for the
Yes,
item.
thank you. And $ for properties and @signs for $ for dereferencing properties and @signs for dereferencing the items inside a single name.
Yep.
Items feel a little weird. I'm sure you're kind of like, that's kind of strange the way they're picking it all up. As we get into it, we're going to see all the different things that we can do with items, and they have a whole lot of magical properties to them. Properties, no. They have a lot of magical behaviors to them that become very useful as we start doing more advanced manipulations, often with files on disk, but not always. So we will be digging into that in future topics. Properties are plain Jane simple. They're just values, set them, dereference them. It's all good. Properties, items, targets. Inside targets are tasks, and properties, items, tasks inside a target execute in the order that they are defined inside the target.
Got it.
Cool. Next time, we'll bring along more than one target because you can have more than one target, and we'll start explaining or seeing what we can do when we have more than one target and the advanced things like that. So feel free to rewatch this episode if any of that was confusing, because you're going to need these fundamentals as we go on into the season, because we're going to go get into some cool stuff. Unfortunately, unlike last year, you have to wait a month. Sorry, my schedule's very full. Lots of things are happening. David's also a very busy man, but we'll be back in a month to do all this again. And I do want to say that if you're interested, in the description of these videos, you can find a link that you can go contact Fire Giant and you can schedule like 2 hours of my time for your personal work. So it costs money because I'm not free. But if you ever be like, you know what, I need 2 hours of Rob's time to answer all my setup questions or even build questions, that's an option for you through Fire Giant. You'll find that link in the description. David, anything else for this week? First episode, first thing in the book? Anything?
I think we got it.
Yeah,
I think the first episode's good.
Yeah, we have a lot in the first step. Like I said, these are fundamentals, and we will be back in a month to break down targets. So great to have all of you here. Love seeing you guys, Martin, Bert, and Andy. Great, and we'll be back in a few weeks. Later, bye.
All right, see you guys.